What? I told you, if you're useless, at least do some cleaning. The furious voice of Kyle echoed through the kitchen of La Sakura, a high-end restaurant that blended French and Japanese cuisine. Crouching on the polished wooden floor, I gave a wry smile, holding a mop in one hand. I'm sorry, Kyle. I'll clean it up right away. I'd been hired a few days ago as the gopher, basically treated as less than an apprentice. Instead of cooking, my main duties were washing dishes and mopping the floors. I wasn't even allowed to work as a hall staff. Then, one day, as night fell and the kitchen buzzed with prep for the dinner service, I carried a bag of trash out the back door. The chill breeze outside gave me a moment of relief. But just then, "You're late. If you don't hurry back, I'll dock your pay." It was Kyle's voice again. I let out a sigh. He was always like this. I turned around, thinking that, and then I saw a woman standing in my line of sight. Her long black hair was elegantly tied back, and she wore a fine dress. When our eyes met, she gasped quietly, as if startled. "No way, is that really you?" I was at a loss for words, not knowing who she was. Just then, Kyle rushed in behind me, clearly flustered. "Rachel, what are you doing at the back entrance?" "I'm so sorry, let me escort you inside right away." Her name was Rachel, the young owner of La Sakura, a brilliant entrepreneur who had revived businesses both at home and overseas. I'd heard she rarely showed up at the restaurant, but now she brushed past Kyle and stepped closer to me, speaking in a hushed tone. "I can't believe this, that you're actually here." "What?" Kyle looked at me in shock. "Rachel, what do you mean?" He pressed her, clearly irritated, but she turned to him sharply and spoke clearly. "Kyle, did you seriously tell me this man was just a part-timer?" "Yes, that's what I was told." "You really didn't know?" "He is." The back alley fell silent. And just like that, the days I thought I'd spend quietly doing grunt work began to shift in an unexpected direction. Now that my hidden identity had suddenly come to light, it would soon change the fate of this restaurant. Inside La Sakura, where a deep, music box-like melody played, crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and soft cherry blossom-themed stained glass decorated the walls. The interior design, fusing classical elegance with Japanese motifs, created a luxurious yet calming atmosphere. My name's Kevin, and it's only been a few days since I started working here. The only thing they handed me as a business card was a mop and a pile of dirty dishes. "Kevin, you're not slacking off, are you?" A sharp, low voice rang out from the back of the kitchen. It was Kyle, the head chef and manager of the place. Tall and wiry, he always had a look of irritation in his eyes. The second he spotted me, he gave that usual condescending smirk that put me on edge. "No, I'm not slacking. There's just a lot to wash, so I haven't finished yet." "What? How long have you been working here?" "In my kitchen, if you can't stay sharp, you're useless. Wash the dishes, mop the floor, and that's it." "Got it?" "Yes, I got it." Kyle spat out his words and turned his back on me. His posture screamed, "I expect nothing more than grunt work from you," leaving no room for argument. "Well, so this is what being the new guy really means," I muttered with a bitter smile as I headed to the sink and started tackling the mountain of plates. As the name La Sakura suggests, many of the dishes had delicate pink sakura-themed designs. Their elegance meant I had to be extra careful, while washing them. Getting yelled at again by Kyle was the last thing I needed. "Kevin, want a hand with that?" A gentle voice called from behind me. I turned to see Emily, another apprentice chef. She seemed to be in her 20s and had a calm, kind presence, always friendly to everyone including me. "I'm good, really. I can handle this much. But Kyle's been kind of harsh on you, so I was worried. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I'd be happy to help with dishes or cleaning." Seeing Emily smile like that, I felt a wave of relief gently loosen the tension in my chest. Most of the staff were too busy to pay attention to the new guy, so her kindness was the only thing keeping me sane. "Thanks, Emily. I've got this for now. But if you need help with prep, just call me." "Okay, will do," she replied cheerfully and returned to the back of the kitchen. From the way she stirred a large pot, it looked like she was making some kind of sauce or soup. I wasn't completely new to cooking, but right now, all I could do was keep scrubbing dishes. As I washed with full concentration, a memory from my past suddenly came back. My childhood left a lasting mark on me. I was raised by a single mom, and from a young age, I watched her work day and night. I wanted to do anything to help her. So with my small hands, I'd cook scrambled eggs or stir-fry whatever vegetables we had. The food wasn't anything special, but she'd smile and say, "This is so good, thank you." I still remember how warm that made me feel inside. It amazed me how food could touch someone's heart like that. That simple feeling made me dream of becoming a chef. What came after was a much harder road than I imagined. With no clear future in sight, I just kept clinging to any opportunity that came my way, peeking into kitchens, asking to make me an apprentice, scrubbing pots and washing dishes every day. In this industry, just getting to hold a knife can take years. If you don't have the patience, it breaks you fast. But I held on, driven by a single desire, to hear someone say, "Delicious." Every time I heard those words, I remembered my mom's smile all over again. That memory kept me going no matter how many times I failed. That's how I built my foundation as an aspiring chef. The next morning started, as usual, with cleaning the kitchen. Even before opening hours, just standing in a space lined with top-tier ingredients and cookware made me stand straighter. I wasn't part of that world yet, but someday I wanted to stand tall here with that thought in mind. I gripped the mop a little tighter. "Kevin, once the floor is sparkling, go wipe down the glasses in the hall too." Of course, Kyle barked another order, glancing my way. "Yes, understood." I gave a simple reply and went right back to my chores. When I finished wiping down the lobby near the entrance, Emily peeked in and asked, "Need a hand?" But I politely turned her down if Kyle saw that. I could already hear the sarcasm coming. By evening, as dinner prep hit its peak, the kitchen felt like a war zone. Sauces simmered nonstop, and ingredients danced in frying pans. Kyle and the senior chefs barked orders back and forth, while I quietly grabbed a garbage bag and headed out the back. As I pushed open the heavy door, the cool outdoor air instantly chilled my overheated skin. I tossed the bag into the large bin and let out a long breath. Then I felt someone watching. I looked up and saw a woman standing there, staring at me. She wore a refined black dress, her long hair pulled back neatly. Her pale skin and elegant presence stood out vividly in the night. Just as I was about to ask who she was, she stepped forward and spoke softly. "Wait, it is you, isn't it? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm seeing you here." Her eyes were wide, caught somewhere between disbelief and certainty. Kyle's yelling echoed from the kitchen behind me, but at that moment, it didn't matter. I'm sorry, do I know you?" Before I could finish, her eyes widened, and she gasped. Right then, "Kevin, what's taking you so long? Hurry up and wait, Rachel. You're here? What are you doing at the back entrance?" Kyle appeared, footsteps loud against the pavement. When he saw me standing next to the woman, his face twisted in surprise. This woman, Rachel, was none other than the young owner of La Sakura. I'd heard she almost never came to the restaurant, and I hadn't seen her once since I started. From what I'd gathered, she was a brilliant entrepreneur who had revitalized several old establishments from her father's era and even expanded internationally. Everyone in the restaurant agreed. It was thanks to her strategy that La Sakura had been reborn into a stylish fusion of French and Japanese cuisine. Now Rachel looked toward Kyle, a spark of urgency in her voice. "Kyle, why is he working out here like this?" Kyle snorted, shrugging as if I were nothing more than a nuisance. "What do you mean? He's just a part-timer. All he does is wash dishes and clean. I came to get him because he was taking too long." Rachel's expression changed instantly. It was like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Kyle, don't tell me. You really don't know who he is?" She glanced at me, then lowered her voice, speaking carefully. "He's Kevin, the legendary chef who once took the culinary world by storm. Not just in French cuisine, but across the entire food industry." The shock of her words hit all three of us like a bolt of lightning. Kyle pointed at me in disbelief, his expression blank. Then he turned back to Rachel and said, "What? You mean him?" Rachel's voice grew stronger. That's right. He's produced some of the world's most famous restaurants, built successful frozen food and delivery brands. He's known everywhere as a culinary genius. No way, a guy like that, taking out our trash from the back door? That can't be real. Kyle stammered, his voice shaking as he looked back at me. Are you really that Kevin? I gave a small, sheepish nod. No point in lying now. Yeah, sorry for keeping it quiet. The name's still Kevin. I had my reasons for laying low and just doing part-time work here. The air grew still, like someone had pressed pause on the world. Then Rachel stepped forward to break the silence. I won't ask why you chose to work this way, but Kevin, if you're willing, I'd love for you to help us grow this restaurant. Your presence here is incredibly valuable to me. Her words hit me straight in the heart, her gaze honest and unwavering. To be honest, I was okay just working in the background, staying unnoticed, but that moment had already passed. Rachel turned to Kyle, her voice firm. From now on, stop treating him like a regular part-timer. Let's sit down and have a proper conversation. As for me, my identity had been revealed in the most unexpected way. With all sorts of emotions swirling inside me, all I could do now was quietly accept the moment for what it was. Ever since my identity was revealed, everything at the restaurant changed overnight. I went from being just a part-timer to suddenly being hailed as a legendary chef in the French culinary world. Honestly, it caused way more of a stir than I'd expected. Kyle, of course, was stunned, and the rest of the staff were just as confused at first. But Rachel, every chance she got, would praise my name and earnestly ask, "Please help us grow this restaurant," bowing her head with sincerity. That alone transformed the entire atmosphere of the kitchen. Before, I wasn't even allowed to touch the tools, no matter how badly I wanted to cook. But now, Rachel, clearly excited, would say, "I want to see what you can really do," and ask me to take charge in the kitchen. From developing new dishes to refining our signature French-Japanese fusion courses, I was suddenly at the center of it all. Rachel's vision was ambitious far beyond just updating the menu. She wanted to overhaul promotions, rethink store operations, and even start laying the groundwork for expanding overseas. Kevin, with your legendary production skills, I know you can help us break through. Her enthusiasm came with its own kind of pressure, but for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was back in my element. Compared to the days I spent doing grunt work, it finally felt like I was standing where I truly belonged. I picked up my knives again, worked the pans, and reviewed ingredients from scratch right down to sourcing and quality. I even began negotiating with suppliers and adjusting pricing. A part of me could feel that maybe I was about to step onto a big stage once more. But what I couldn't stop thinking about was Emily, the apprentice chef who had been working hard alongside me. When my identity came out, she was clearly shocked at first, but soon after, she gave me the same warm smile as always. One day, in the middle of prepping for dinner, she quietly came up beside me and spoke softly. "Kevin, you're really someone amazing, huh? I feel like I might have seen you on TV or in a magazine. Now that I think about it, your name sounds familiar. I just never realized it was you. It's kind of surreal." Still, she spoke to me like she always had, casually and kindly. I joked, "If you start treating me too formally, it'll make me nervous. Just keep talking to me like you always do," and that made her smile in relief. I was worried I was being too casual, but thank you. You've helped me so much. Honestly, I've always felt like I wasn't good enough. I'm still just a trainee, so no one gives me big tasks. And when I do things like cleanup, they say, if you've got time to help, spend it improving your skills. No matter what I do, it always feels halfway. And I'm not as tough or driven as, well, someone like you. "Someone like me?" I asked. She hesitated, then said quietly, "Someone like you, Kevin." "Me? What's so tough about doing grunt work?" "Well, even when Kyle yelled at you, you never looked upset. You just kept going. I could never do that. I get discouraged easily, and when people criticize me, I lose motivation." I couldn't help but laugh. To me, I was just doing what needed to be done, but to her, I looked like someone who kept pushing forward, no matter what. Sure, I get down sometimes too, but someone's got to do the job, or the place won't run, no matter how I'm feeling. I figure if I keep doing what needs to be done, eventually something good will come of it. She repeated softly, something good. There seemed to be a faint glimmer in his eyes. Maybe she had finally realized that all the tasks she had seen as insignificant, those behind-the-scenes jobs and support roles, were actually essential to someone. Maybe that realization had finally sunk in. I think the reason I've grown this much is because I met you, Kevin. So, will you keep teaching me? Her words warmed my heart more than I expected. Maybe she wasn't just a fellow trainee to me anymore. Of course, I'll help with anything I can. As I said that, Emily quickly lifted her head and smiled, her cheeks blushing. I'm happy to hear that. The look on her face was so radiant, I nearly lost my train of thought. But lately, between Rachel's constant requests, rushed menu developments, and meetings with vendors, I'd barely had time to talk to Emily at all. Rachel would call me first thing in the morning about the new project I'd love for you to oversee it personally, and the calendar just kept filling up. Since all these tasks were critical to the restaurant, I couldn't just turn them down. And so, my time in the kitchen grew more limited. I had fewer chances to taste Emily's carefully prepared sauces or give her advice, and I noticed more and more how her eyes followed me with a hint of loneliness. Emily, I'm sorry. I've got another important meeting today. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Good luck with the meeting, she said with a smile. But even I could tell it was a smile shadowed with disappointment. Still, she never let it show completely. I could tell she was trying not to be a burden. As for Kyle, he'd become almost invisible lately. Though still technically the manager, everyone knew Rachel far outmatched him when it came to leadership. And ever since I stepped into the spotlight, she'd been relying on him less and less, often saying, I'll talk to Kevin about it instead. Kyle, who once commanded the center of the kitchen, probably felt like he'd been sidelined in his own domain. I often caught Kyle biting his lip in frustration, letting out a sharp "tss" under his breath. I'm the one who kept this place running for years. And now, just because some hotshot shows up, suddenly everything's different. He muttered that once, just loud enough for a few staff members to hear, but no one knew how to respond. To be fair, Kyle had contributed plenty to the restaurant, but it was obvious that Rachel's attention was now entirely focused on me. It wasn't that I wanted to take his place. All I wanted was to put my skills to use and help elevate the restaurant as a whole. Still, I did feel a little sorry that, along the way, Kyle's role seemed to be shrinking. But either way, Rachel was the one steering the ship now, and we all had no choice but to follow her lead. As the project moved forward day by day, Emily began to flourish in her own way. Even with me gone more often, she sought advice from others and steadily leveled up her skills. Her meals after dinner service were getting better by the day, so much so that I was genuinely impressed. Once I told her, the sauce you made is really delicate and well balanced, and her ears turned bright red. She beamed and said, I'll keep working even harder. But I couldn't help noticing that faint shadow behind her bright smile. Maybe, despite being thoughtful about my packed schedule, she actually wanted more chances to learn directly from me. Yet she never said it. Instead, she kept working hard on her own. I knew things couldn't keep going like this, but each day flew by like a storm. The restaurant's popularity exploded thanks to Rachel's bold marketing tactics and the momentum from my new menu creations. Every time I got called out, I would dash out of the restaurant, spending my days locked in negotiations with PR reps and vendors, only to return late into the night. After grabbing a late dinner in the kitchen, I'd finally cross paths with Emily. She'd greet me with her usual gentle smile, but her words were few. I'm sorry. I promised I'd teach you more, but lately we've hardly spent any time together. It's really okay. You're busy for the restaurant's sake. And besides, I think I need to learn how to manage on my own too. Her eyes were unwavering. Rather than overthinking it or saying something unnecessary, maybe it was best to respect her resolve. A little while later, thanks to Rachel's proactive promotional strategies and my new menu development, La Secura's reputation soared at an incredible pace. The unique blend of French and Japanese cuisine began trending on gourmet sites and social media, and before long, it became nearly impossible to get a reservation. Personally, having experienced trends like this before, I didn't feel swept up in the hype. That said, Seeing our new venture take off so smoothly genuinely made me happy. Not just the menu, our entire brand was rising fast. One evening, as if to celebrate our success, Rachel came up to me and said, "Let's have a little celebration, shall we?" The staff had just finished dinner service and were busy cleaning up, but everyone's attention was quickly drawn to the premium champagne Rachel had brought in. "Everyone, let's take a short break. Cheers." With her glass raised high and an unusually cheerful expression, Rachel lit up the room, and smiles began to spread among the staff. A sip of the finely bubbled champagne brought a soft wave of relief, easing the usual tension of work. Cooks and servers gathered in corners of the kitchen and dining area, chatting quietly about the restaurant's future. Some shared visions for what was next, while others looked a bit overwhelmed by the sudden spotlight. Their roles varied, but there was no mistaking the energy buzzing through everyone. Amid the warmth of the moment, I found myself scanning the room for Emily. Right. We had made plans to talk tonight. With all the recent project meetings and off-site negotiations, we hadn't had much time to connect. I had suggested, once the celebration settles down, why don't we sit down and talk? Emily had responded with a cheerful, "I'd love that." As the celebratory mood started to wind down and the staff returned to cleaning up, I looked for the right moment to call out to her. But just then, Rachel briskly approached me. "Kevin, you've worked really hard today, but I have one favor to ask. Could you come with me for one more stop tonight?" Her clear, elegant eyes locked with mine. I could feel the urgency in her tone. One more stop? I thought all our meetings were done for the day. They were, but a very important sponsor of ours just arrived in Japan. They might be the key investor for our next restaurant project. I really want to introduce you to them. It shouldn't take long, and the car's already waiting. Would that be okay? Rachel's voice was apologetic, but there was a firm sense of, "This can't be missed," beneath it. I glanced over at Emily. She was a short distance away, chatting and laughing with the other staff. Noticing that Rachel and I were talking, Emily glanced in our direction. "Please, Kevin." Rachel's voice held a quiet urgency. It couldn't be helped. This was for the future of the restaurant. I let out a quiet sigh, then gave a small nod to Rachel. "All right, let's go, but I can't be away for too long." "Thank you, that means a lot." Rachel visibly relaxed, a look of relief washing over her face as she said that. "Then I'll count on you for the sponsor meeting too. You're the only one I can trust with this, Kevin." With that, Rachel gently placed a hand on my back. It was a light gesture, but it caught me completely off guard. I stiffened up instinctively. I couldn't find the words fast enough. Rachel looked up at me, amused, and narrowed her eyes in a playful smile. "Sorry about that. It's a habit I worked overseas for so long. I guess it just comes naturally now." She gracefully pulled her arm back and took a step away. I knew she tended to be physically expressive, but it still left me a little unsettled. Before the car arrived, I hurried over to Emily and spoke quietly. "Sorry, Emily. I know we were supposed to talk tonight, but they've asked me to join one more meeting. It's just a quick sponsor thing. I'll try to be back soon. Can we reschedule?" She looked surprised for a moment, but quickly smiled and shook her head. "It's fine. It's important, right? Don't worry about it. I'll make sure we find time again," I said before heading out with Rachel. Usually, a new investor meeting would excite me, but tonight, I couldn't bring myself to enjoy it. The dinner with the sponsor went smoother than expected, and we wrapped up just past midnight. Rachel, in high spirits, said, "Thank you. You really saved me today." I asked to drop me off partway and made my way back alone to La Sakura that night. She might still be here. A small hope tugged at me as I gently opened the door to the quiet restaurant. But as I stepped inside, only a few dim lights remained. The dining room was perfectly cleaned, chairs stacked neatly. No sign of anyone. The dishwashing area and counters were spotless, wrapped in the silence of a post-service kitchen. Of course. Why would she still be here? I muttered with a self-deprecating smile. It was already past midnight. Even Emily wouldn't still be here at this hour. I knew that in my head, but I couldn't help feeling a little disappointed in myself for still hoping. The cold air inside the restaurant seeped into my chest, matching the heaviness settling there. I told myself I'd just do a quick walkthrough and head home to prepare for tomorrow, and started moving forward. Then, a faint sound suddenly sliced through the silence. I froze in place, sensing movement coming from the back of the kitchen. Soft footsteps? A cupboard opening or closing? Is someone here? I lowered my voice and stepped toward the sound. The lights weren't completely off, but it was still dim. As I got closer to the source of the noise, my heart began to pound. A break-in? Or maybe a staff member forgot something? Steeling myself, I reached the storeroom near the kitchen. The door was ajar, and a shadow moved inside. I approached quietly and peeked in there. In the faint light were those familiar slender shoulders. "Emily?" I called out before I could stop myself. She froze, startled, then slowly turned to face me. It was definitely Emily. The dim emergency light cast a soft glow on her face, revealing an expression caught between surprise and panic. "Kevin, why are you here?" She instinctively hid something behind her back with both hands and glanced away awkwardly. Her voice trembled ever so slightly. "I should be asking you that. I thought everyone had already left. What are you doing here?" As I asked, she looked around as if searching for an exit, her shoulders drooping slightly. I just forgot something, that's all." Her answer was vague, like she was trying to cover something up. This wasn't like the Emily I knew, always open and sincere. It felt like she was hiding something. "I see. Want some help? If you're not sure where it is, I can help you look." As I offered, she quickly shook her head. "No, it's fine. I already found it. Really, thank you. And Kevin, thanks for all your hard work. I'll get going now." She blurted it all out and tried to rush past me out of the storeroom. "Wait, Emily, are you sure you're okay?" I reached out reflexively, but she turned swiftly and disappeared beyond the door. Her footsteps, even in heels, were quiet purposefully so as she vanished into the hallway. I was left alone. What could she possibly have been doing here so late at night? The question swirled in my mind, but there was no way to chase her now. Did I say something that upset her? But no, I can't think of anything. And what was she even doing here this late? I walked slowly through the silent restaurant, checking that the kitchen lights were off. What had happened tonight? Would she ever open up and tell me? The more I thought about it, the more restless I felt. But for now, all I could do was respect her space. Even if it was just for a few minutes, she must have had her reasons. The next morning, I rushed to the restaurant, more anxious than usual. Rachel was already waiting at the entrance. She'd called earlier and asked, "Can I borrow you before opening? There's another meeting on operations I want to go over." So I arrived earlier than usual. "Good morning, Kevin. Today is going to be a bit hectic. We got some last-minute requests from the other party, and I've scheduled an online meeting with their rep. Also," she paused and lowered her voice, "apparently Kyle wants to talk. I have a bad feeling about it." A talk? Huh. Immediately, images of Kyle's recent frustration came to mind. His pride as manager, his years of dedication. It was all being overshadowed now that Rachel was putting everything into my hands, from menu development to operations. With how openly he resents me, I wouldn't be surprised no matter what he says. Just as I said that, I saw Kyle approaching from across the room. His expression was tight, and he stared directly at us. "I need to speak with you." He got straight to the point as he came to stand before us. "Before your meeting, do you have a moment? There's something I want everyone to hear." "All right, let's gather in the kitchen." The entire team assembled in the center of the kitchen. All the clattering of tools and prep work came to a halt. Tension filled the air. "So, Kyle, what did you want to say?" Rachel asked. Kyle looked at me briefly, then turned back to her. "I'm quitting the restaurant." At the sharp, decisive announcement, a chorus of surprised gasps, "What?" rippled through the staff. Emily's eyes widened in shock as she stared at him, clearly struggling to believe what she'd just heard. "What? Why so suddenly?" Rachel asked, her voice tinged with confusion. "It's a long story. I've thought it over. No point trying to stop me, I've already made up my mind." His tone made it clear this wasn't a bluff. The kitchen staff were visibly shaken. Wait, but Kyle, isn't this a bit too sudden? Voices of concern and confusion rippled through the room. Kyle, jaw tight, waited a beat before speaking again. I'm going to a competitor. There's a place called Infini Noir run by Travis. They scouted me. The offer wasn't bad. The air in the kitchen turned to ice. A rival restaurant? And Travis's place? Wait, what? Why Travis, of all people? I asked without thinking. Kyle furrowed his brow and shot back, his voice edged with bitterness. Why? Because ever since you showed up, everything's gone to hell. I've protected this place for years, but then some legendary chef shows up out of nowhere, and suddenly all the attention shifts. Rachel, the staff, they don't need me anymore, do they? That's not. Rachel started to object, but Kyle cut her off. Spare me the excuses. I've made my decision. I'll work at that place and turn Infini Noir into a restaurant far superior to La Sakura. That's how fired up I am. Jealousy and frustration radiated from him. Back when I first started here as a behind-the-scenes temp, Kyle threw his weight around, trying to maintain authority. But once my true identity was revealed, he'd clearly felt more and more cornered. Rachel's full trust in me must have been the final blow to his pride. If that's how you feel then, maybe we really can't stop you, Rachel said softly, lowering her eyes. It's true you've protected this place for many years, so if you suddenly say you're leaving, of course I'd be sad. Sad, huh? Wow, you couldn't care less about me, and yet you say something that fake with a straight face. That's not fair, Kyle, Rachel began, but Kyle suddenly raised his voice. Save it. I don't need your surface-level sympathy. I'm done here. Overwhelmed by the sudden rush of words, Rachel fell silent. But Rachel's eyes sharpened. She wasn't just sad. She looked like she was calculating, analyzing. Yes, losing you would be a blow. But more than that, there's something I'm truly disappointed about. Kyle, you leaked information to our competitor, didn't you? A gasp spread through the kitchen. Time seemed to freeze. Kyle blinked, stunned. What are you talking about? Our recipes, our suppliers, even our course redesign plans. Too much is leaking out. And not just vaguely specific details only someone inside would know. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence. Rachel's voice remained calm, yet it carried a low, pressing tone that felt accusatory. I listened carefully. In Travis's movements, I'm aware of them. He's clearly aiming to take La Sakura down. With you involved, the pieces line up a little too neatly, don't you think? That's just speculation. Kyle stammered, eyes darting around the room. The staff looked stunned. Not a word was spoken. Maybe it's speculation, but the fact is confidential materials and future plans have leaked. And right around the time you suddenly announced you were leaving to join our competitor. Rachel's face was sad, but behind that sadness was unshakable resolve. Kyle, even if you leave La Sakura, that's your choice. But if you've been selling our information, then this might turn into a legal matter. What are you even talking about? And anyway, do you have any proof? You're accusing me of leaking information, but I bet you don't actually have any evidence, do you? Kyle grew desperate, denying everything. It's true that, so far, I haven't been presented with any definitive proof that Kyle actually leaked the information. Rachel might be relying on circumstantial clues for now. Evidence, you're right. I don't have a smoking gun just yet. But I can't just stand by and ignore this situation. I expect you to give me an honest explanation. Just then, a man's voice suddenly came from behind us. Well now, talking about me? Sounds like you're having fun. We all turned. Standing there, tall and poised, was Travis. No one had noticed him arrive. Clad in a sleek suit, Travis carried himself with the air of someone used to winning, calm, calculated, and unmistakably confident. He was known for operating several restaurants as prestigious as La Sakura, earning high praise for both his investment sense and management skills. But despite the respect, there were always whispers how he was relentless in his methods, unconcerned about stepping on toes. Now, in front of us, he smiled like a man who already owned the room. Rachel's expression darkened the moment she saw him. Travis, why are you here? She asked in a low voice. He shrugged and smirked. Why? Isn't that my choice? I heard I was the hot topic over here, so I figured I'd stop by. Sounds like Law Sakura likes spinning theories, huh? Travis turned to Kyle with a smirk. So, Kyle, sounds like Rachel's got her doubts. Accusing you of leaks, betrayal, things getting lively, huh? Kyle looked bitter, eyes downcast. But with Travis standing beside him, his shoulders seemed to square a little more. Sorry, Travis. You're just jumping to conclusions, there's no proof. I haven't done anything. I know you're not the kind of guy to pull something shady. Travis gave a reassuring pat on Kyle's shoulder, as if to back him up. Rachel, don't you think you're making assumptions? Accusing Kyle of leaking secrets without a shred of proof? That's what we call speculation. Even Rachel's composed face faltered slightly at his provocation. Silence hung heavy in the air. She met Travis's gaze steadily, anger tightly controlled. You're right. I don't have definitive proof yet, but there are too many coincidences. How do you explain knowing our new menu layouts? Our suppliers? Travis chuckled through his nose, the picture of indifference. My place? You mean my restaurant? Ha, we've just got a sharp team with great instincts. We keep our ears to the ground, that's all. No matter how Law Sakura evolves, we pick up on it fast and plan ahead. That's how business works, right? It was far from a justifiable explanation, but Travis insisted he had only gathered information within legal bounds. What? You think I bribed Kyle into stealing your secrets? Better be careful, accuse someone without proof, and you might be the one getting sued. I could see Rachel's fist clench tightly in response to Travis's provocation. We're convinced you've been working in the shadows, and I have every reason to believe Kyle was helping you. Because I care about this restaurant, I can't just ignore that. Seeing the earnest expression on Rachel's face, I felt a pang in my chest. At that moment, Emily quietly raised her hand. Standing in the corner of the dining hall, she spoke in a trembling voice, as if forcing the words out. There is proof. The air instantly grew tense. At Emily's words, Travis narrowed his eyes in a sharp, provocative glare, while Kyle stared at her in shock. Even Rachel turned toward her, clearly surprised. Emily, you know something? Yes, I'm not completely sure, but I overheard a conversation. After the celebration, when we toasted with champagne, I heard Kyle on the phone. At first, it was by chance, but then I realized. He was talking about our plans, supplier names, menu strategies, things only insiders would know. Though her voice faltered, Emily pressed on, meeting the gaze of everyone in the room. Her eyes held a mix of confusion and unwavering resolve. They were talking in way too much detail, like what the next promotion would be, or where the supply routes came from. And then, saying stuff like, we have to do this while he's not around, or we need to crush Rachel's plans before they take off. At first, I thought maybe I was dreaming, but the more I listened, the clearer it became this was our internal info being leaked to someone outside. Hearing that, Kyle's face went pale, and he looked like he might lunge at Emily any second. Hey, what the hell are you saying? You can't prove the person I was talking to was Travis. A desperate, almost unhinged shout echoed through the restaurant. But despite flinching at the sound, Emily didn't back down an inch. Her back trembled slightly, but there was no mistaking the strength of her resolve. Travis, meanwhile, smirked with amusement and shrugged. Ah, I see. So Law Sakura's leaks weren't just coincidence, they were thanks to an insider, huh? Well, even if that's true, it's Kyle's doing, not mine. Doesn't involve me. I recorded that conversation. Not all of it, but I recorded it partway through. The sound is a bit rough, but you can clearly hear Kyle say your name, Travis. He also discusses Law Sakura's menu in detail. The recording includes the date and time. In that instant, Kyle's face twisted with the realization that he had slipped up, while Travis narrowed his eyes and shot him a sharp sideways glance. Travis! Kyle might have said the name without thinking, but with that, the identity of the person on the other end of the call was all but confirmed. Hey Kyle, you just let the cat out of the bag. Travis clicked his tongue in frustration as he spoke, and Kyle, now ghost pale, bowed his head frantically in apology. I'm sorry, Travis, but I had no idea this guy was recording anything. I just wanted to know an easier way to make money. I thought if I shared a little about the new menu formulas maybe. Maybe it would work out somehow. Hearing his pathetic excuse, the surrounding staff all grimaced at once. Watching a man who had lost all respect and trust flail so desperately was just painful. Travis sneered coldly and waved Kyle off like swatting a fly. I've been struggling with this for a long time, but when I saw Kevin, Rachel, and everyone working so hard, I just couldn't look the other way anymore. I was really shocked when I heard Kyle's phone call, but I knew if there was anything I could do, I had to do it. Hearing Emily's trembling voice, my chest tightened with emotion. She's still young, hustling every day as an apprentice chef. And yet, driven by her desire to protect this restaurant, she found the courage to gather evidence. Humph, whatever. This isn't enough to bring me down. You've just got some dirt on me, that's all. But Kyle, not only are you useless, you brought a whole mess into this. If you still want to work with me, you better start playing smarter. Travis, Kyle muttered weakly, and Travis shot him a cold, piercing glare. From the side, Rachel spoke up firmly. With a recording this clear, it's obvious Kyle leaked our confidential info. And it's also clear that the recipient was you, Travis. You think this won't go anywhere? That's a bold statement. Travis scoffed and snapped back. All I'm saying is I didn't do anything illegal. Even if I got a call and some info was shared, business is free competition. You want to sue me? Go ahead, but I won't just sit back and take it. I've got my own cards to play. Rachel's fists trembled with rage. I spoke quietly. There's something I want to share with everyone. All eyes immediately turned toward me. Travis raised an eyebrow and spat. What now? I didn't originally join La Sacra as just a part-time back-of-house worker. Many of you already know this, but let me say it clearly. I'm Kevin, and I've been running several food ventures, mainly in the French culinary world. As the words left my mouth, the surrounding eyes grew even more intense. Even if most in the restaurant now knew who I really was, stating it openly while facing Travis carried weight. Travis clearly knew, but he gave a sarcastic snort. So what? If you're some hotshot chef, maybe you should just stick to cooking. Doesn't mean you get to act all high and mighty with me. You're right. All I ever wanted was to make people happy through food, until you decided to ruin my career. Travis, do you remember? When I was preparing for overseas expansion and you hijacked my sponsor behind the scenes? Travis's brow twitched, but he quickly masked it with a shrug. Who knows? That's just how business works, isn't it? Is it? I've spent years watching how your idea of business has trampled over countless people. And it wasn't just me. You manipulated Rachel and the staff here at La Sacra to steal information. Until yesterday, we didn't have enough proof to confront you, but thanks to Emily, Rachel, and everyone else's efforts, we're finally getting the evidence we need. Hearing this, Travis averted his gaze with a click of his tongue, visibly uncomfortable. Still, he quickly regained his aggressive stance and grinned. Evidence, huh? What kind of proof do you think you've got? You talk big, but it'll blow up in your face. His threatening tone made a few staff members hold their breath. Rachel's fist still shook, but before she could speak, I quietly pulled out my phone and turned the screen toward Travis. For example, here's a copy of an email. When I was communicating with an overseas sponsor, you cut in and lured them away. It's all documented. The awkward phrasing shows signs of editing and tampering. And I have witnesses who can testify things were suspicious back then. That's just hearsay. I might not have asked anyone to do anything shady at all. Travis kept deflecting, but there was a noticeable crack in his voice. Rachel stepped slightly forward. It's not just the emails. Our legal team reviewed the bank activity between you and Kyle. There are suspicious small transactions, clearly in exchange for leaking La Sacra's procurement and menu development info. What? For a moment, Travis's expression faltered. Money trails are hard to cover up. That kind of evidence would corner even him. So, do you still think you've got cards to play? I asked in a low, calm voice. Travis gritted his teeth and glanced around the restaurant. Kyle stood beside him, head bowed, no longer an ally, just a defeated man. The rest of the staff, though filled with anger and sorrow, stood united behind La Sacra. Not bad. But if you can't prove this is legit, it means nothing. Take it to court if you want. I'm not going down without a fight. Travis bluffed, but it was clear he was no longer in control. Fine, then go ahead and take it to court. We've got the call recordings Emily made, plus all the documents I've been collecting over the years. And once Rachel takes action, your business partners will be the first to walk away. A bad reputation always hits the bottom line. Travis glared at Rachel, me, and the rest of the staff with growing resentment, hiding a click of his tongue. Damn it, he said nothing more, simply yanking at the collar of his suit to adjust it. The smugness he carried just moments ago had completely vanished. I looked at him quietly, letting the years of bad blood between us sink in. Once cast out, we were now the ones standing tall, united, and gathering the evidence to protect this restaurant. This is a place for people who love food. Yes, competition is inevitable in business, but dirty tactics that bring others down, those won't be tolerated. So, Travis, if you plan to keep pushing, let's settle this in court. Rachel's voice trembled, but her words rang strong. Emily's eyes also burned with resolve. All the staff stood silently, but their spirits were clearly fired up. Humph, let's see how far you get. Travis growled and turned on his heel. A heavy silence fell over the room, but as his figure receded into the distance, I felt a strange sense of closure begin to rise in my chest. It was like even Travis himself could sense something was about to collapse. Time passed, and La Secura had returned to its normal rhythm. The scandal Travis tried to fabricate about me backfired. Between legal actions and losing industry trust, he was forced to let go of most of his business. That cocky image of him had completely disappeared. He apparently tried to flee the country, but his sponsors and partners all pulled out one by one, leaving him out of funds. In the end, Travis's grand ambition collapsed completely, and now he's vanished so thoroughly from the public eye, no one even whispers about him. Thanks to that, the business partners who had unfairly pushed me out in the past finally learned the truth and began reaching out with apologies, saying, "We misunderstood a lot of things." As my name was cleared, the overseas expansions and new investments that had once been proposed started to come back to life. Not just in business, but my reputation as a genius chef was finally being restored. With Travis out of the picture, La Secura saw a surge in customers, with reservations flooding in. Media coverage increased, and new ventures started blooming one after another. Then one evening, as the restaurant was winding down, I heard footsteps at the entrance. I turned around, wondering who it could be at this hour, and there stood an unexpected face. It was Kyle. He looked noticeably thinner, but there was a calmness in his gaze. Rachel. Everyone. I'm sorry for showing up unannounced. I know I'm banned from this place, but I had to say something." As the staff watched tensely, Kyle bowed deeply. I caused you all so much trouble. Selling information, teaming up with Travis, I was a fool. Being kicked out of the restaurant, losing everything. It made me realize how wrong I was. I let jealousy and shortcuts blind me to what matters. I hurt the restaurant and all of you. I'm truly sorry. He bowed even deeper, almost dropping to his knees. Rachel's expression grew complicated. But it wasn't the same fury she once had. It was mixed with a quiet sympathy. Yes, you betrayed us. You damaged our reputation. But if you're truly remorseful, then rebuild your life on your own terms. You may never return to La Secura, but that doesn't mean you can't do something meaningful. Kyle bit his lip and gave a small nod. Yeah, I'll never make the same mistake again. I want to start over as a chef. I just wanted to show you I'm serious about making amends. With that, he turned and disappeared into the night. No one said a word. The room was silent. But it wasn't heavy silence. Instead, it felt like everything betrayal, misunderstandings had been brought to light, and we could finally move forward. Kyle still had a long way to go, but if he was serious about reformation, that was something to hope for. One night, as another busy day at La Secura came to a close, I was taking a breather in the dining area. I heard light footsteps. Rachel. There you are, Kevin. Got a minute? She looked straight at me, her composed face softening into a warm smile. We just closed another deal. It's all thanks to the truth about Travis coming out and your name being cleared. With all that evidence you gathered, you protected both this restaurant and yourself. Let me thank you again. She smiled, lightly waving a stack of documents in her hand. No, Rachel, it's thanks to you. You believed in me when it counted. And Emily helped too. As I said that, Rachel glanced gently toward Emily. You really were amazing, Emily. Oh no, I just wanted to protect this place. I gave it everything I had. Honestly, it's always been Kevin who's helped me. I just wanted to give something back in my own way. Emily looked down as she spoke. That earnestness and kindness of hers had always been a source of strength for those around her. Thank you. But you really didn't have to put yourself in danger like that. Recording calls, doing things that might provoke someone like that, it must have been really scary, wasn't it? It was scary. But you were always kind to me, Kevin. That really saved me. That's why I kept wondering if there was something I could do in return. Her eyes looked like they were starting to well up. I exhaled softly, choosing my words carefully. Emily, you're braver than I'll ever be. Honestly, if you hadn't spoken up when you did, this place and I might have been hurt for a long time. Thank you. You really saved us. After a pause, Emily spoke again in a soft, trembling voice. But if my feelings are too much, please tell me. I never meant to come between you two. That made me tilt my head in confusion. Huh? You two? Emily lowered her eyes even more, clearly embarrassed. You and Rachel. I just thought maybe there was something special between you two. For a second, I froze, not understanding what she meant, but then it hit me. She thought Rachel and I were involved. Wait a second. That's totally not it, Emily. Rachel and I just talk about work a lot. She's just the owner. A business partner, that's all. And besides, before I could finish, a voice chimed in from behind me. I'm married, you know. Sorry to disappoint. Haha. I turned around, and there stood Rachel, having appeared without a sound. Still as stunning and composed as ever, she smiled playfully. What, you're married? I didn't know. Emily's eyes widened in surprise. Her face turned bright red with embarrassment. Rachel gave a little shrug, her tone casual. I don't like mixing private life with work, so I don't talk about it much. Sorry if I gave you the wrong impression. Emily quickly waved her hands, shaking her head. No, it's totally my fault. I'm so sorry, I really misunderstood. I let out a wry chuckle as I spoke to Emily. Really, don't worry about it. There's nothing special going on between me and Rachel. We just talk a lot about how to make the customers happier. That's all. Hearing that, Emily let out a quiet breath, visibly relieved. The redness in her cheeks slowly faded. I see. I totally jumped to conclusions. I'm sorry. But I'm glad. Her last words trailed off into a whisper, but Rachel giggled, clearly enjoying the moment. Well, I suppose Kevin does have his charms. But for now, he's all about the job, right? She winked at me playfully, and I couldn't help but feel a little flustered. The misunderstanding had been cleared up, but thinking about what might have prompted Emily to say all that in the first place made my heart stir just a little. As long as her worries were eased, that was enough for now. I murmured to myself inwardly, exchanging an awkward but gentle smile with Emily. The nighttime kitchen was filled with the soft scent of butter and spices, and the tense atmosphere from earlier had vanished as if it had never been there. What I wanted to protect had only grown over time. A love for cooking, the bonds of the staff, and maybe just a little flutter of something more. Surely tomorrow would bring new stories and challenges, and that thought alone made the day's exhaustion seem worth it. In the quiet moment that followed, I savored the feeling and asked myself, so, what kind of day awaits me next?